There's no telling what will be asked.
Absolutely not. Not with
Howdy,
this crew.
folks, and welcome to DRS Live 2018 March 11th. We have no idea
what
we're
going to talk. Society, the totally late, lame hosts that have not posted a live episode in months.
Which is why we're punishing ourselves with 2 of them this month.
Is it really a punishment, though?
It's a terrible burden having to talk to the people who fund us. That's just, I mean, think about it. You have to talk to the kinds of people that would support us.
What's that old saying? I'd never deign to be a member of a club that would have me, some variant thereof. It was Mark Twain that said that, right?
Yes. Did I really say 2011? I was trying to say March 11th. Whoops.
Talk about a man from the past.
Yeah, they're kidding. We are mental. Oh, chat. I so enjoy chat.
Looking behind me, folks, you're going to see my wife occasionally because I'm in her office doing this because my office is filled with packed stuff for painting. Wave at the crowd, Donna.
Hi.
And Paul's busily closing apps in an effort to make sure that the stream is operating as good as we can make it operate. It's like Guam internet or some damn thing. You know, it's kind of difficult to put lipstick on this pig.
You don't really know anything about the internet on Guam.
Nothing.
You made that up right on the spot.
Damn right. It's the thing to do these days. It's not just for fiction anymore, man. It's all over in real life.
So I mean, it's like fake news.
Let's not get started on that. Let's not get started on.
Wait a second. What was that? An alternate fact. That's what it was. An alternate fact. I can never remember these terms.
Not gonna get into this. I'm not ready to have a rage moment. I just nobody needs to see that. Nobody.
Step back from the edge, bud.
Step back from the edge. Let it go. Did you finally get something done, Terry, this weekend? Or is it just more house shit? Is it just like 24/7 house shit?
I got all the priming done that I needed to do.
So today I'm just nothing but house shit.
Pretty much this weekend. I hope to wrap up the painting today. If so, it'll be 10 or 11 o'clock tonight by the time I actually finish getting it done. Then tomorrow, Donna has a doctor's appointment, and I hope to get everything moved out of my office back into the rooms that I had to clear for the painting so that Tuesday I could be back to my normal operating environment.
Your normal operating environment?
That's right. It's hard to write down here with cats running berserk and wives running berserk, and maybe that should be a video. Wives gone berserk.
Wives gone berserk. We did joke about this at one point, having all the writers' wives make a video or a talk show, and just that would be freaking scary as hell.
Yes, it would.
The experiences of living with a crazy person.
I wonder what we see as the topics they'd run.
No, not what. Yes, wives as in plural, as in writers plural. I was assuming one wife for one writer, but hey,
are you sure? Because you could have multiple wives.
Could have 3 or 4. Oh, Winder has been neutered. His wife is demanding his attention. What?
Ooh.
Oh man. What does this mean exactly?
I think it means that Chris's wife may wear pants. That's what I believe that may mean.
Yeah, I don't know if that was relationship and into why he wasn't here to watch us, or is somebody just throwing shade at somebody else?
I tell you, I'll do exactly what I feel says that I can.
This is so bad. Why would you want multiples? True.
Then they could do it by committee.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah. Boy, that'll work out. See, I really can't imagine the allure of having multiple partners like that in that kind of relationship, just none of it sounds good. It just sounds like it could be nothing but bad news all the way around. Maybe I'm just naive, but it just seems.
What could possibly go wrong?
This is why I think it's really interesting, folks. And
but it does work for some people. I'm not saying it doesn't.
We're not judging. I just can't see how it was way. Of stories, and somebody drew attention to the fact that one of the synopsis that was most popular last time I looked is the one that ended with "and things go horribly wrong." And somebody commented on the fact that every time I say something like that, y'all somehow get this image in mind of, mad scientist, crazy stuff, the monstrous things I do. But I just found it interesting that was actually called out. And that synopsis is hardly the brunt of what we got, because so many of these synopses had to be watered down to just a pitch, I think I did a decent job with them, but some of them were really damn difficult to pitch because I don't know the story and I don't know what the author intends. So it's really, really difficult to make that happen.
Well, next time we'll know what the hard limit is, so we can say it must be this size or smaller.
Yeah, I was really pissed about that. And the other thing is, Facebook is so broken now, which is so ridiculous. If you go to a poll and you copy and paste something in, and you try and add a letter to the end or a letter into the mid space to correct something or add a bit of information, every keystroke takes you to the end of the sentence, and you have to go click where you wanted to go again.
That's rough.
Ooh, it pissed me off so bad. It was horrible. The monstrous things I do could be a book title. You're right. You're absolutely right. Kind of along the lines of the Garaga story, The Things I Do for Love. It just has such a wonderful connotation to it because I'm a sicko. Amma, we're glad you're Anma. Okay, I'm obviously slaughtering your name already. So welcome. Y'all at some point are gonna have to add, give me a pronunciation guide because I've been screwing up names for forever.
That's actually very entertaining when you do that.
Well, apparently. It's only all the more entertaining when you do it.
Oh, I do it too many times. Yeah.
I had a wonderful thing happen to me, Terry.
Tell me.
Thing. I had lunch with my dad today.
Don't you have lunch with him every weekend?
Every weekend I try, for as long as I can get him. Anyway, I sent him destruction last night actually, and by the time we got to lunch, or actually when I got to the house, he was still poring over a ream or two of paper. Apparently, he's already read 134 pages of the new book since this morning. And he was very excited about it. So maybe I actually hit a home run. Maybe. Or he's just patronizing me. Either way, I felt very happy. And, you damn people and your ideas of open universes and inviting writers in and all that bullshit.
First, we convinced you that you could have series that were longer than 2 books. Now we're going to convince you to open it up to other people. The sky is the limit.
It's not that I shouldn't or couldn't. It's just that the fear of being derivative of yourself is just very difficult to banish. But what I realized with destruction, by the time I got to the end of it, with all the things I had set up, that the book can't possibly get derivative because it's going to start getting really crazy, even crazier than it is right now. Or, the stories that come after this. So if I'm going to take on something that big, then it kind of deserves the time and space it needs. It's huge.
Welcome to the Cooleyverse.
Yeah, the Cooleyverse. Part of the Cooleyverse anyway. Or one of the Cooleyverses. Tell us more at DRS Podcast.
That's you, by the way.
Huh?
That's you. He uses the @ sign to indicate a person, so that's you. So tell us more, Paul.
You want more open worlds.
He wants to know more about the way you just said open worlds. He wants to know more details about how you intend to implement it.
Well, with Soul and Beyond, I have a couple of options. One of which is there are 3 SNR ships. SNR Black is the one that features in Derelict, but there are 3 SNR ships. So one idea is to allow somebody to go take one of those other ships and do a mission that I have in mind for them to go do in the past. And yes, several somethings are peeking from behind. They're good at it. So
I'm going to turn keep talking. I'm going to turn down the front light here so I'm not so washed out.
Okay. Terry's worried about his appearance. The idea is basically to get some ideas and get some ideas on what that story might mean or what that rescue mission might entail, because it may reveal a detail that actually applies to the Derelict saga. But I also want those I'm thinking about those characters. I need them for the Derelict saga, or at least what's going on in Soul and Beyond. So then the question is, can we just have another writer take over that piece of it? So I'd have to basically work, come up with the ideas for it. But I'm getting to this point, if I'm going to do that, I have to have more information on what the main storyline is. And that's the only problem, because I have it up to a point. And I'm having to figure this out as I go along. No, not as in time travel. In the past, as in before the Derelict saga starts.
I think you need to go ahead and write a story of the Mira's misadventures and their grievous end.
I want to write that book so bad, but it's just, it would spoil so much of what's to come. It really would. It wouldn't actually. Because what happens at the end of Destruction, yeah, even the folks aboard Mira had no idea. They didn't know what they had.
But don't worry, they'll be fine.
They'll be fine. Everything's going to be fine. The entire solar system is not about to be invaded. Everything's fine.
Talking about opening up universes, after the last book that I did in the Empire Saga, I'm looking at it going, I'm making it much larger than I could possibly feed in any kind of reasonable time frame. And so I'm pondering the whole opening it up myself, but I really don't have the first idea of how to go about finding the right partners to make that happen.
I think that the way Chris Kennedy and those guys are doing is basically they go read a writer that they like or they hear about. They go try and test drive them out on something and see if it works.
I've got one person in mind that I'm tempted to approach this person. The things that this person has written, I'm being gender neutral here because I'm trying to hide identities here. I'm trying to keip that secret because I have not talked to this person.
Because the writer in question.
I have not talked to this person, but his writings so far have not been. I said his. I guess it's a guy. I let that slip. Boy, that didn't work out for me. His writing isn't really space opera, the sort of thing that I do, but I like his writing. I like what he has written. And I think that he would have an interesting take on some aspects if he was even interested in the first place.
Okay, fair enough. I think that I think if you're going to try and open the worlds up and invite people in, then I think you do have to have. I personally am going to have some kind of relationship with them, or know their writing, because I'm just not going to be able to take a shot in the dark. I'm going to have to know some things. And
so would you test drive them with like a short story or something, see their work, see how they might do something?
Yeah, quite probably. I think quite probably it would either that or I don't know. Maybe give them directions on a scene and see how it goes. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just get comfortable.
In this particular case, the person, him in this case, I've read a couple of his books, and they're in a different genre than the type of space opera that I write, and pretty much totally not in space. But I like the cadence, I like the style, I like the characterization. I think the guy has the chops to make it work. But like I said, I've never approached him. I don't know whether he would be interested or not. I'm a little bit nervous about the whole idea myself.
Yeah. I just think what we talked about when we were talking about this amongst ourselves, and not too many episodes ago, I am going to have to do a lot of prep work before I even think about doing that. And maybe I'll try and write something in the meantime that's kind of a spacer or an example of what I'm looking for. Yeah, and that is something I could take submissions for. So it's possible. It's possible. I feel like there's not enough info in Derelict about how the SFMC works, about how what the relationship is between the SFN, SFMC, EarthGov, or excuse me, can't say that, SFGov, and the Martian colonies, as well as the other stations. I don't have a good idea of how all of it works economically. I don't have a good idea of so many things that I'd have to put down. So it's probably going to take a while for that to happen, unfortunately.
And Jake Bible actually does write in this particular genre. So I'm not exactly thinking of him. This is not a Jake Bible reference. And I'm not going to go on a fishing expedition. You're not going to guess and have me answer everybody's name. One of the things that could be a plus or minus with that, Paul, is if it's not written down, whatever they write
becomes canon.
Could give you something, becomes canon, and that's a sword that can cut two different ways.
It is
in the positive or in the negative.
But I mean,
because you're bound by it. Once it's canon, you are bound by it.
Unless you're gonna pull a Fonzie and have the time travel thing.
Nathan, J.R. Martin's not busy. It's not like he's actually writing on that last book.
Ow. Ow. Unsuspecting red shirts with the black.
They're all unsuspecting with the black. Yeah, no one expects the black.
That happened in the first book. A whole shit ton of red shirts went down. And that's another interesting thing I was thinking about last night was the fact that I'm still pantsing this in a big way, because now we're not talking about pantsing books. We're talking about pantsing the series.
Ganon Frog has made it to the live show. Who are you, Ganon Frog? Tell us more.
Ganon Frog. Who are you? Who are you and what do you want here?
Everyone's watching you.
Well, welcome. How many people do we have in here anyway?
This may be one of our busier live shows.
I think this is probably the busiest that I remember anyway. What do we got? 5, 6, 7 people in here? And maybe a lurker or two. Who knows? Oh, we only got 6 viewers. Duh. All right. So we have 6 of you here. That's cool. I think it's maybe the most at any one time.
So throw out a subject for us, guys. What should we talk about next?
Yeah, we're sitting here babbling. What do you want? Yeah, if you're doing a lot of the world building, you're not really pantsing the series. That's not true.
It's Isabel Cushy. That's who Ganon Frog is.
Isabel Cushy. I look forward to that one. Nathan, not so much. Not to mention Drew.
It makes me wonder, when you attempted to pants a series and having to do a lot of world building, when I do my pantsing, I feel free to kind of forget things about what I've been doing and sometimes come back to bite me. So it's a good thing that I've got somebody doing a story Bible so I can actually look back and go, wait a minute, do I have any information on this yet? What's going on here?
On this book before anybody sees this? Nobody will notice, right?
Hey, you want to talk about people noticing? I changed a ship's name. I changed a planet's name. I changed a character's name. No one commented on any of these things to me. None of the beta readers, no readers. I found them all on my own. So it just goes to show you that people's eyes will skim over anything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I've seen it. You have a professional editor go over it. You have multiple beta readers go over it. You go over it. You have all these people and shit still gets missed. It just happens. It just absolutely happens.
It's the nature of the beast. The goal is to keep it below a line where it intrudes on the story immersion.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about making it perfect because nothing will ever be perfect. But as long as you don't screw it up too badly, then you're not going to have people get knocked out of the story. And that's the goal. You want to draw them into the story and keep them there. So you've got to keep the amount of mistakes to a minimum. And I can't give you a specific of this many mistakes per this many words. I have no idea what it is.
I think you just basically try and get you try and get rid of all of them that you find. And
do you correct ones when people send you notes after it's already published?
I don't with my Sever Press titles. I do with my shadowpublications.com titles. And I really should do it with Sever Press, but I'm so
step back, buddy. Step back.
No, it's more on the lines of if it's a matter of I'm looking at it going, not really sure I want to go through the pain and suffering of editing, trying to find the right copy and counting on it being the right copy that I get back from them, what they actually published to go change it and then send it back. And I don't know. I honestly don't. I haven't asked, so I honestly have no idea if that's a thing they do or not.
Do they revert to you at some point?
Yes, they do.
So you could save the information for when they revert to you.
Mm-hmm. It could happen. No, the leaf blowers aren't here today, Nathan.
Ah, too bad. You didn't pay them enough.
You didn't get enough money. Written. So Drew has an evil plan for us now. How I actually wrote Jelly Gator NATO and planned to hold it hostage for Patreon money. Wow. That would be hilarious. That would be hilarious. That's what we need to do, Terry, right? These one-offs, right? For cash, Dance Monkey Dance.
I could sort of see that, actually.
I got news for you, and we'll just go ahead and get this out here. We are never doing strip shows for y'all. It's not happening. It's not happening. Do you want to break the internet? Because that's how you break the internet. Jelly Gator NATO. What the hell? Seriously.
Hey, it worked for Sharknado. I mean, what are they? They're already working on number 6. So obviously it wins. You should obviously write this. You know what you should do? You should write a scene to tease it.
Just a scene?
Just a scene. See what kind of interest you get out of it. Send it to your patrons and see what they do.
Oh, no. Okay, Drew has it right. They should pay us not to strip. That's what I'm saying. You're paying us not to do things like that.
So what's that? What does that mean? That you have to keep an eye on what's going on, and you just start taking off clothes, and you only stop when you hit a certain dollar?
I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't know. It would be like a reverse auction kind of thing. It's very, very odd. What are my thoughts on the rise of authors using Patreon? I got in. When did I start Patreon? It's been over. I guess it was shortly after I left Bizarre Voice. Maybe. Honestly, can't remember now. So I got in relatively early compared to what it's like now. I think it is really cool. For what can be done with it. My problem is that I don't know. I honestly don't know how long this service is going to be around. Seriously.
You think they really shot themselves in the foot?
I think that they have. Okay, so let me give you a little inside information here, which I can. I got a letter from them yesterday, I think it was, an email from them saying, "Hey, we noticed that part of your benefits, one of your tier benefits, is to put your patrons in the credits. For an extra 99 cents a month, we will provide you the ability to manage that and do all these other things."
How in the world could they possibly do that? Are you talking the credits for your... Which credits are you talking about?
When we name the patrons at the end of the show, we're giving credit to the patrons.
Yeah, well, they can't very well help us with that because they're not recording in our voices.
No, no, no. It's nothing like that. It was for visual media, for managing visual media, video snippets, things like that.
I'm unimpressed.
Now, you got to remember, we are podcasters. We are in a different world. A lot of these folks that are writers do not have podcasts, are just putting out, I say just, are putting out stories, interacting constantly, essays, and everything else, and they're doing just fine without any real video components. Or maybe they get on and shout at people once in a while. So that stuff is there. For us, it wouldn't make any sense. But my point is that now they're starting to offer these upgrades and services, which I thought was really interesting. And I think the idea is, hey, we've given you a new way to manage this part. If you do it like with your website or whatever else, you don't have to manage it anymore. We put it in there. You can sort it by how much they paid, with the creation date, their names, birthdays, all that shit. Get it all down. So I think that's how they're going to try and actually make money. Because I think they realized when they tried to do what they did last time that what they were doing was killing their purpose. They were destroying it. And so down on that big time. And now I think they're probably searching for a way to get revenue, an alternative way to get revenue that doesn't destroy the place. I don't understand how they didn't think that was going to be a problem, what they tried to pull.
People get blinded. They get blinded by the situation that they're in. And Patreon didn't think that it would cause as much of an uproar because they're not their own clients. They don't see what their clients see. They have a different worldview.
My understanding also is it was pressure from the vulture capitals who just gave them a new influx of cash. So what happens when you deal with vultures.
I know that you've done Patreon. You continue to do Patreon, and we do it for the show. But for myself as a writer, since I release everything pretty much as soon as it comes out, I just don't have any extra content that I do for Patreon. And I'm not going to do a patron sort of thing unless I have something that's special for it. I just can't justify it to myself.
And with me, they get early podcast episodes. They get exclusive content, which I have been horrible about doing something the last 3 months because I've been so messed up with what's been going on. So I got to get back into doing that. Otherwise, there's no point in them paying me the extra cash for it. And I realize that. And in fact, I basically put out a call. I was like, guys, I do live shows. Y'all never show up. Should I just kill this? And I was like, okay, killing it. I didn't hear back from anybody. So point is that, we're doing stuff to give extra benefits like that, but I haven't been putting out like, John Miro is always putting out new stories for his patrons. He's a good one to have. I think Seth Harwood is doing that too. And so was Phil Rossi. They're putting out new pieces of content, new creative content all the time. And I think that's why they're supported. I think that's why it is. Michael Bennett is doing gangbusters, but Michael Bennett's Michael Bennett. He's got a shit ton of patrons, and he was one of the first ones out of the gate, and it's worked out really well for him. But his podcast audience is also a hell of a lot larger than mine is. So the Patreon has a lot of ways that it can help itself, but I just do not know that they're going to be able to make enough money to survive. Because their only option is to squeeze us, is how it works. And when they squeeze you, they squeeze us. And that's the problem they've got. So this is why in a week or two, we'll probably have John Miro come on the show and talk about the alternatives to Patreon and how much it costs to do some of these other things to get your own things set up. Patreon, I would still say you keep Patreon as long as it's alive, because people will find you through Patreon. They may be on your Patreon for maybe a month or two before if they're getting the same content that you put in the other, that they'll jump to your private membership and get the fuck away from Patreon. So, Patreon's a good place for them to find you. And yes, Patreon has become very competitive. It's just like Kickstarters and things like that. It's very competitive. There's a lot of things you have to do to get that up front. If I was a lot more aggressive on my personal Patreon, not to mention this one, with what we put out there, then I think we probably have a lot more folks. Although DRS is obviously a niche, and So is Shadow Publications to a certain extent, but it is what it is. So I think Patreon's great. You want to have a mechanism like that, and I think it's a good place as long as you can, go forward with that way. The ground floor, the next big thing, dude, is happening right now. It's
Tell us
happening
more.
right now. You basically put together your stuff to run your own Patreon. That's how it works. It's really not that difficult now. And Terry's giving me the stink eye, but I'm telling you right now, they have all this stuff available through WordPress. You can just basically, if you've got the site and you can afford to do it. The great thing about Patreon is it's free. It's free for us, essentially. And they've got the rudimentary tools for you to do things right there. And it doesn't cost you any money for the hosting or any of that other stuff. But if you are to that point where you feel like you've got enough folks that can help you out, then you can basically go to your own private membership thing. And the terrifying part of this is that, yes, it's probably ultimately going to somehow help you on taxes.
Wait a minute. I don't think anything helps you on taxes. That's pretty much a lose-lose situation, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll see how 2018 comes around, since now our entertainment budgets are gone.
I'm not sure how that perks. I'd heard something talking about doing write-offs, but that's only if you're actually an employee, not a self-contracting, self-employed guy. So I'm not sure how that works. What I am looking forward to figuring out for this year's taxes is talking to a professional, seeing whether or not it makes more sense for me to incorporate, become an LLC or something else, because the way the new tax setup is, if I'm interpreting it correctly, there's a big chop off right there at the beginning for the pass-through income that's going to make it worthwhile in taxes. That's pretty technical. I probably shouldn't have gone there, but
it means you're getting hit up front to actually move everything, and then after that, things are copacetic.
What pass-through income is, for example, if you've got an LLC and it's being paid by Amazon, say, but it's still going to you.
Right.
When it becomes pass-through income going through the company, on your own personal income taxes, that first 20% is a deduction. Boom, 20% of your income automatically not counting for taxes.
Gotcha.
So depending on how that actually works out, whether I'm understanding it correctly or not, it may well be worthwhile to make an LLC to go ahead and funnel my writing income to me because of that income tax break.
Yeah. Now, I was going to form an LLC 2 years ago, but kind of got distracted. So I'm going to have to investigate all that crapola too, especially if I'm going to start doing other things.
Yeah. As we learn more this year, we'll probably have an episode on taxes again because, taxes. I know that you mentioned WordPress as a plugin a while back, and I'm still sitting there thinking, my website is so 1980s, and I need to have something a little bit more easy to deal with. It's impossible to add a book to it in the places that I do it without a couple of hours worth of work in making changes there. There's got to be something easier to mess with than that. So I'm going to have to eventually start looking for what actually makes a good author website and how to actually change myself over to using that. Less maintenance time is what I need.
Yeah, Nathan's suggesting Squarespace or Wix, and with some of the things that you want to do, I don't know that they will do it. Because we had this discussion, and I think it was either, I can't remember if it was an email or somebody put it in the group, but there was somebody who was a web design type person who basically was like, yeah, if you need somebody, I can tell you how all this works. It's like, okay.
I think what I need to do first is start looking for authors' websites that look good, that seem to have all the things that I need, because right now I'm in the situation of not really knowing what I need for a great website. My website is adequate. It's a web presence, but it's not great. So I've got to start hunting around for that.
For you right now, all you really need is a brochure. That's what you are, is a brochure.
Pretty much.
because you don't blog or anything else. All you need is a brochure.
Mhm.
If you're cool with that and you don't want any whiz bang craziness, then you don't need it. You just need a simple site that does what you want to do and go forward. I don't find, I mean, I've got a completely separate setup for my website. My website's automatically complicated by the podcast. So, but WordPress is pretty easy for me to do the things that I want to do, but there are things that take me a lot more time to do than it would for some time for me to hire somebody.
Mhm.
So at this point, I gotta get me a WordPress person in here and fix up the goddamn site.
It may just be that I need a different WordPress theme. It may be
Yeah,
that the one I've got is not up to it, and I need something different. But I don't know what it is. Until I know what it is, I don't know what I'm missing.
They have this thing where you can actually go to the WordPress themes or whatever, type in a search bar, and come back with them and see them live.
I see.
The answer for Terry was there all along.
Supposedly, I still intend to go hunt for the better looking author websites. What I'm thinking website wise, since you're right, mine is basically a brochure. I need to have an easy way to say, okay, I've got this new release, and I do something that's fairly short, and suddenly that book appears in whatever format on there amongst the other books in that series.
Yeah.
Maybe whether it's a little thing on the top that the books go across or something on the sidebar where they are. I don't know what it is yet because I don't really have a vision in my head. But whatever it is, all I need to do is I've got to keep track of my words on whatever book that I'm working and have the books there so that people can see them.
Yeah.
Those two things.
Anma, please, is that how you say your name? Because I'm so terrified that I'm slaughtering it. She says, plus you can have flip to pages for your books if you aren't already. Look at the Site Origin plugin.
Okay.
So I'll try to remember that. Maker support, I have heard of it, but I didn't know just how. I think John Miro was talking about that. I don't know what its focus is. I'd have to go look at that, but that is something we definitely need to investigate. Someone, I don't know who it was, mentioned that we should stream on Twitch. You can't stream on Twitch unless you're like an entertainment show or gaming show. But I mean, people are doing all sorts of crazy things there all the time. But as niche as we are, I don't think Twitch is going to help us much. I mean, obviously the streams are saved and y'all could go look at them, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm still not sold on that. Still not sold. Anma. Okay. Cool. Thank you.
There's some questions out of patrons. What else do we want to talk about today?
What else do we want to talk about today? Yeah, stream writing a book. Yeah, people stream them coding. Yes, streaming there. Yes. But if you want to get out front, you have to do something a little bit different than that. What else y'all want to hear?
You could be like Jake Bible and go ahead and write a Drabble book.
Oh, God. Well, I think he's already doing well. Every Friday he has Friday Night Drabble Party where he puts Drabble up. Every Friday. How do I feel about? Okay, Drew. I'm a little concerned when I get asked this question. Somebody's afraid they'll get banned from the group. Drew asks, "How do I feel about being a character in a novel, and do I require survival?" To be honest, I'd like to be a red shirt. Just put my name out there and just kill me in some horrible way, if the book calls for it. No, I do not mind. I've been in other people's books too. Just try not to lampoon.
Here's a question for you, Paul. Do you care about how much a character is or is not like you in a book? That's a more nuanced question.
That is a more nuanced question. When I steal Fiendlings' names or not steal, when they're offered up, I usually don't know anything about those people personality-wise, other than maybe some snark or whatever I've seen on Facebook or social media and repartee with them if that happens. So I kind of go with what the character in my head sounds like or looks like when I'm constructing that scene. And I just kind of go with that. And I imagine that 99 times out of 100, I'm not even close to capturing anything about that person if I don't know them. It would be just a complete crapshoot. I think it's funnier in a lot of ways if you maybe has them if you have them do something silly if they're really serious, or do something serious if they're really silly, to play it against type of the person. I mean, shit, I turned Scott Sigler into Shauna Sigler, which is a stab both at Scott and Jake Bible. And she's a major character in The Black. That has her character has absolutely nothing to do with either of those guys. And it's just fun to watch that live out there. And most of the characters have like that, have no relationship with the real person at all. None at all. So
I know that there's one character that I have in a set of books that the guy did me a favor, did me a solid at some point, and I said I'd include him in the book. The character is based off of his cartoon avatar. I have no idea what he actually looks like, but his avatar looks so awesome that I made him look like the character looked like the avatar.
And see, sometimes it's just hearing a name. I just, whatever, it just kind of comes out of my skull, and there's like this image of this person, and it's horrible. It's like stereotyping on a whole different level. You're just inventing a person to go along with a name. And so whatever connotations or images come into your head from the names is how this person ends up. It's not really fair, but it's just this auditory visual thing that I go into.
So JR says Paula Mixon, Lady of the Evening. Make sure and put a price list up for that there, JR.
She better be expensive. Anyway.
Oh, that's pretty much like a challenge right there.
It's so bad. It's so bad. Oh. I think I put Justin and Terry in the third book, third Black Book, Outbreak. They're in there. Terry has actually quite a bit of screen time.
Until his inglorious death.
I'm not saying a damn word. Neither should you.
I have no idea. At this point, I have no idea.
Yeah, you've never read any of the Black Books, have you?
That's true. I read the first one.
You did read the first one. Okay. You should read the third one.
Actually, did I die in? I've already died in one. You read the scene where I died.
In the third one, yeah, in Outbreak. Yeah. That's where I killed both you and Justin. Because it was so much fun. I made Terry even more cantankerous than he usually is. Very curmudgeonly.
You know, I think that's what they call projection, Paul.
Projection? You think it's projection?
It's when you go ahead and accuse other people of being like you are, Mr. Curmudgeon.
That's pretty much everybody on planet Earth. I'm pretty damn sure anyway. I stared in the reflection and realized it was my own nemesis.
Yeah, Drew said that. He got that right. Well, they're doomed. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, there are some people who just aren't going to make it out alive.
Have you ever had a character that you were writing on, as soon as it appears, you're like, oh, the things I can do to this person. And you just start envisioning the horrible things that are going to happen.
I look at the graveyard, and those of you that take dubious pleasure in snarking and trolling me on Facebook and Twitter and other places like our Facebook group or email or chat. Yeah, I will find something really, whenever a really horrible scene comes up, I will find your name because it will immediately pop into my skull.
Do you like make notes in the graveyard of what these people have done to you? Sort of like a payback sheet?
I go back and I look at the name and it's like, yeah, I should have a payback sheet. I really should. That would be even funnier to put that up there. But I wouldn't want to have that in case something strange happens. But bottom line is that I don't need to make notes. If I remember who you are, or I'll go search and I'll look and I'll find it. And then I'll be like, oh, that person.
You know, as much as Nathan Petty, he tortures you. He says he's not in the graveyard. How could this possibly be?
Because he tortures me. I'm not gonna put him in my graveyard. He's in the graveyard of this show. I may have to put him in the graveyard though. Have you
ever thought about, I'm going to interrupt you there. They put up their names with these little quotes in between. Have you thought about going ahead and just, changing what he says instead of whatever pithy thing Nathan says in there? You change it to something. Well, we won't. Let's not go too far, I guess.
Is he the one that did Toy Car 2? Which one of you did that? Try to make me say that goddamn tongue twister. Which one of you did that?
What I think you should do is you should go ahead and change it one of these shows to whatever you want to put in there.
Oh, right. So it'd be Drew Bernardi or Drew Dealer's Choice Bernardi. Yeah, Drew, you definitely have a leaf blower death in your future. I just haven't figured it out. I think it would be great if the Black got into the leaf blower and just started spraying everybody. Oh, was it Chris Winder? Yeah, it was Chris Winder. Yeah. I keep wanting to, okay, Isabel says, I keep wanting to put named red shirts into my story, but it's turned out to be difficult from first person when red shirts are often folks the POV doesn't know.
That's never stopped Paul from toe tagging.
No, never. It's not really difficult to do that. You can have, if you have something happen, or you can have one of your characters tell an anecdote about said person. Because there's a chef scene in The Black that takes place on the rig, and I did a double, the double fiendling thing, and it worked out really well. It was just basically crawling into this chef's mind and figuring out why the chef was overworked and had way too much to do and everything else, and then an anecdote flies through their mind, and it was another crazy thing. It was about the story I'd heard from Charlie about the guy on the rig who got busy with a ham. So there's ways to do it. There's ways to do it.
Pork. It's what's for dinner.
So anyway, there are things that you can do with that. Yeah. Chris Toy Car Turk. I'm so ignoring you right now, JR. It was there's ways to do that where you can have the quote unquote red shirts there without having to like go into the huge detail background. I just like it. I think it's funny when I can take a character that I named Terry Mixon, because I want to do the Shakespearean drop right between act 3 and act 4. I want to do the Shakespearean drop. Action stops, and then we get this view of something else that's going on, which is really just an intro to the second part of the play. And that's what I used Terry and Justin for. They were both comic relief. They were my gravediggers from Hamlet, but at the same time, I needed them to show us something about the Black, and they were good characters to do that with.
I think what you need to do is you need to go ahead and use me and Justin for a version of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
The Cooley version of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. What could go wrong?
Exactly. So
I'll make them puppets. And
by the way, if you haven't seen Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are Dead, you should. It's amazing.
It's a great play. It's a great play. But yeah, I know the movie's good too. Tom Stoppard, great playwright. Eventually, there's going to be a college professor who has a lesson about the significance of J.R. Handley and Thomas Reed and why they were killed off in so many books. Yeah, Drew, there's going to be some research done at some point. Some academic is going to be like, what the hell is going on in genre fiction? Just what the hell is wrong with these people? And they're gonna put it into the indie writer phenomenon. That's what started it.
Actually, there should be entries in the Darwin Awards in one of your books in the future. And then you should make up some horrific way that they managed to remove themselves from the gene pool.
Yes. Yep, Reed is always found dead already.
You know what I think you should do with Thomas Reed? You should have somebody looking at his toe tag one, going, didn't he already come through here? This seems so familiar.
There was a scene in Derelict that I thought about. I was like, oh, I could have this happen and have his skeleton end up on the bow of SNR Black. It would just be too fucking funny. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. Suddenly he's the mask. He's their hood ornament.
Well, I think you still could manage it. It's only the last book is only out to the beta readers. You could still fit that in.
I'm not putting that in. Although the Fiendlings would die laughing.
Do it.
Thomas Reed would send me so much hate mail.
Do it.
Actually, he would laugh so hard he'd fall out of his chair. Yeah.
You could have him like in a shot closing in on the bow. Wait, what's that on the bow? What is that? Zoom in, and it's a skeleton wearing a uniform, and it's just got a little tag that says "Read" on the. Do it.
I may have to do that for Trident. I may have to put another Reed in there. So I don't have enough of them. Let's add another one.
You can never have too many Reeds.
I've got a Thomas Reed. I got a Nobilis Reed. And Nobilis is going to be a big time factor in Trident. And I just, it's going to be so messed up. I don't know what to do.
You don't even have to have it like on the front there. They could the ship could come in on it and just, it's across the windshield. And all you can see is the face and the name tag.
That's it.
Then you could have the pilot say, and the expression on his face. Oh my God, the expression. Just not even mention what it is.
I threw up in my helmet.
A little bit, yeah.
I've always wondered about that. We joke about that, about throwing up in the helmet, but it's going to happen. At some point, it is going to happen. Because my understanding, I've never been in Zero G. But my understanding is people who have a little bit of motion sickness could really have a bad time in Zero G.
At the current time, they screen pretty well for that sort of sickness, motion sickness. But at some point in the future, you're going to get somebody that's going to be that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more we try and send civilians into space, it's definitely going to happen. And I just, how are they going to solve that problem? I mean, you literally drown in your own puke if you puke inside your helmet. Why do I think of these things?
Yeah, why do you think of these things?
The unlovely truths about space travel.
Space diapers.
Space diapers. And diaper for your head. All right, what else you got?
There we go. Somebody should send you a skeleton wind chime with a teeny toe tag that says Thomas Reed on it. That's what Drew Bernardi says.
Oh, God. Nathan says, I was working with a guy on a sewer backup in a full face mask. He barfed all over his mask. Oh. Oh. Drew Bernardi takes notes. Puking on helmet. Thanks, Paul.
I can see a sign on the inside of an airlock now. Paul Cooley pukes in his own helmet. Don't be Paul.
Paul ate a fantastic Vindaloo before getting into his spacesuit and yarked it all over his helmet, inside his helmet. Don't be Paul.
Exactly.
Don't be Paul. Ooh, weightless Vindaloo. Ooh. 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 I think I like it with gravity. I'm not sure I'd like it without gravity. I don't know. Until we get artificial gravity, I'm not really sure I want to live in space. So Terry, did you see this story about the twins? The one that was an astronaut? They say his DNA changed from his twins.
I do remember seeing something about that, but I didn't read the story.
I didn't read the story.
Is he now a mutant? They're actually, if you're talking about the The people that I'm thinking about, they're both astronauts.
I thought there was one that wasn't an astronaut. Are they both?
They almost ended up on the International Space Station at the same time while I was still working for NASA. So if we're talking about the same guy, his twin is also an astronaut.
Okay. Maybe he hadn't been in space yet.
Or hadn't been in a while. I'm not sure.
I can't remember. Anyway, I thought it was really interesting, but they were both astronauts. Okay. But one had been in the ISS for years and the other one hadn't. Okay.
The other one
spent longer in space.
Spent a lot longer in space. Yeah.
There we go. So this starts to pile up, really, in my mind anyway, that if we can't figure out a way to stop that genetic drift, some really bad things could happen.
All right, Paul, here's where you're going to call me names. What if it's not genetic drift? What if it's something sinister? Changing astronauts. The longer you spend in space, the more other you become.
Wasn't Johnny Depp in that movie?
That sounds like just about every Johnny Depp movie, now that you've mentioned it.
I think the flick is called The Astronaut's Wife. I think it's what it is.
I thought there was a time traveler's wife, but I don't know about the astronaut.
No, there's the astronaut's wife. I think that's what it's called. Surely one of you people have heard of it. Okay, one did the year in space, the other did. There we go. So yes, Terry, that is a good idea for a book. What if it's not genetic drift? From the non-Paul E. Cooley and the hard sci-fi area, the question is, how are they going to get around that? I can't even fathom it. And of course, I don't even know if it's a problem, so to speak, but anytime I hear something like the DNA's changing, that's kind of terrifying.
Well, one of the things that I heard that ways that this could be dealt with involves asteroid mining. Because once you start asteroid mining, you can actually collect a good amount of water. If you go ahead and create your orbiting space station and surround it with meters of water, that's going to stop the hard radiation.
True.
You're going to, the water, maybe not all of it, but you can get stuff from asteroids to go ahead and make excellent shielding. So you could bring it back to Earth orbit. You could build stations that could support life without having the radiation affect you. And eventually that's going to be the answer that they go to.
Until they find something that they can manufacture that acts like water.
The issue isn't manufacturing something that looks like water, that acts like water. It's the cost of getting it into orbit. You have to go ahead and find something that's already in space that you can get back to Earth cheaply. That's the answer.
It seems to me that, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but at some point, isn't it going to make more sense to actually build the damn things in space rather than building them on the ground and sending them up?
At one point, once there's enough infrastructure to actually do that.
So that
they're what they call near Earth asteroids, and there are ones that follow us or precede us in our orbit that stay fairly close to us. Those would be very stable asteroids for mining. You could send robotic probes there, robotic refineries there, and there are already plans working on drawboards to do that sort of thing. It's probably going to start happening in our lifetime. Once that occurs, and you can start, you send a miner out to an asteroid, it starts refining them, breaking up the material, refining the material. It can then use the water that's in the asteroid itself to go ahead and create fuel to send it on the slow boat back to Earth orbit. Not a lot at a time. They are building orbital infrastructure. Once you have orbital infrastructure, then it opens up the solar system for humans.
Now let's just hope they don't build near Neptune.
What could go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? Another of our famous lines. What could possibly go wrong? It's funnier when it's not said ironically. That gives you an idea of the character real quick. What could go wrong? Yeah, Isabel, I wonder about that too. It's just a question of, I know in space we don't really, once you get out of a certain area of Earth, out of the Van Allen radiation belt, there we go. We start having problems with cosmic rays, and that's where I just really am wondering how we're going to solve some of those problems. So I like what Terry was saying, but it's I keep going back to the Bobaverse, man, because I want everything printed out there. I keep going back to the Bobaverse every damn time.
JR is talking about just build the orbital elevator and be done with it. Even carbon nanotubes really probably are not strong enough to make that happen. And I just have my doubts that we're ever going to have something that is going to be strong enough to carry something meaningful into orbit.
Terry, you just don't think big enough. I mean, just imagine the disaster movie you could have when the space elevators crumble to the ground.
Now, I imagine the disaster movie you have when a terrorist blows up the anchor for the space elevator.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I see.
When the base crashes and suddenly the damn thing's 7 miles long or whatever, coming down on top of shit.
Here's the elevator. It doesn't just go up to orbit. You have to go about the same amount of length beyond the orbital station with a counterweight there to keep it there. And the way they talked about doing the space elevators, you go ahead and build the station where you want it in geosynchronous orbit, which is like 28,000 kilometers up there. I don't know. I may be exaggerating that. And then you start exuding the cable in both directions with a weight on the outside, so it counterbalances the weight of what you're lowering to the planet's surface. And you basically lower the cable to the surface of the planet so that you can anchor it at the same time you're extending it way out into space. So it's going to be a very challenging sort of thing. And I was close, 35,786 kilometers. I wasn't too far off.
Yeah, I was way off. Planetary Resources, Nathan points out, that's a company that plans on mining asteroids.
And that I printed out a whole bunch of stuff from their page and other pages dealing with asteroid mining, and I eventually intend to utilize some of that, but I've never gotten around to it.
Yeah, I'm going to be utilizing a whole shitload of it later. Not now, but later. Not now, but soon. That's going to be an interesting little deal. I mean, the horror part of my brain is always saying, well, what's really in some of these asteroids? Do we even know? And it's like anything else. We know what we know, and we can only base our assumptions on what we do. But I still wonder some of that stuff. I mean, until we get up like on it, are we even going to know?
Even when you get up on it, you're not going to know
until you start drilling cores out of it. Yeah, that's the part that
I could see some scientists. Wait a minute, is this biologic material? Dun dun dun.
Yes, you should tell Dennis E. Taylor about Dead Robots. We drop his name so freaking much in this show.
He's free to go ahead and kill us off in his next Bobaverse.
Yeah, if he ever writes another Bobaverse book, please kill me off in it. I think all the things that we're looking at as far, and my parents and I were talking about this morning, the strange shapes of the storms on Jupiter that they're finding at the poles. It's very bizarre. It is really bizarre. Now they're coming with all sorts of theories about why they're doing what they're doing, but at the same time, the bottom line is we don't know. I mean, what, 5 years, or as recently as 2 years ago, we didn't know these things were there. So, I mean, it's just crazy. We're just now finding out that the Neptune has storms, and we've been looking at that thing for a long, long time, but we just never figured that out.
What I think is interesting isn't necessarily the cyclones that are orbiting the big cyclone on Jupiter. It's the hexagonal shape on the top of Saturn that makes me go, ooh.
Yeah, what in the hell is that? And so, and I don't know if they know, and I haven't seen it, if Uranus or Neptune exhibits the same effect. If so, then you can make some kind of generalization about gas giants.
Yeah. You know what? You could probably have the black, stow away in a spaceship in Florida and go into orbit and mess up the International Space Station as a short story.
They did that. That's called Life. Short story for Paul to test people on. Astronauts attempt to drill on an asteroid. They find the black. Chaos ensues, or hilarity ensues, depending on your view of the world. I get the idea Drew is already vying for this particular post.
You could write it both ways. You know, two different characters. One is a disaster, and the other it's a comedy.
Yeah, true. I find all this stuff interesting because we're at this point where, you know, it's 2018, and by the time I die, which will hopefully be somewhere around 30 years from now.
Boy, that's not thinking big, bud. Kick it out from 30 years.
It's thinking logical. I'm hopeful that in the next 30 years that we do make some serious discoveries about some of these things, and to see what else we find, because right now the theories, what we thought was going on, all that stuff's being tested on a daily basis with all the information they're finding and raw data. And once they get it processed to a certain degree, one wonders exactly how different the universe is going to appear to people than it does to us today. And it's happening so fast. It's almost like you need to keep a mental scrapbook of how things were, you know, just a few years ago before we discovered all the things we know about Pluto now, or Saturn, and all these other things that have been throwing the physicists, just driving them nuts because of all the crazy stuff that's coming out. So it's a fun thing to think. And therefore, I think part of the fun of being a science fiction author, or an author in general, is that you can actually go to those places in your head and extrapolate and make that happen. It's fun. Was that 2070 something, Hanley, or was it 21 for the 21st century? I don't remember when the Vulcans showed up. I don't know. Somebody Google it. I'm worried about performance on my browser, so I'm not Googling it, since technically my machine is running the show right now. And this thing's only got 2 hamsters on it, so, you know.
Well, we've already been going at this a little bit more than an hour, so we should probably go ahead and find a few more things to talk about and then see about drawing this to a close.
Yeah, so I can go record or write or something.
So I can go paint. Yay.
Yay. Well, let's see. You can go paint. Tomorrow morning I have blood work, and then Thursday I have an MRI for my knee. So
what did you do to your knee anyway?
I don't know what I did. Whatever it did.
Was it those high kicks? I told you, you got to stop watching those Vegas shows and trying to imitate that. That's never going to turn out well.
Look, the patrons asked me to try and do the line dancing thing. I try. I mean, this is all their fault. It's all their fault, obviously.
Somebody needs to put together a video of Paul line dancing, because that would be amazing. Paul
I'm
as a
so
rocket.
glad David Wood is not here.
Somebody tell David Wood that he needs to have Paul as a rocket immediately.
2063. Okay, April 5th, 2063. All right, there we go. I can go to Pluto in real life? Really?
Where do I see my universe sharing going? I'm going to probably expand it out to seeing if certain individuals, maybe start with one, see how that works. Slowly. That's where I see it going. I see expanding it for other writers on a case-by-case basis as I feel comfortable. Right now, I'm not so comfortable. I might find one person to start with and see how that works out, and then go on from there.
Do you want to open it on both ends? Well, that sounded dirty.
Well,
multiple timelines.
Well, you're talking about the fact that I intend to write Imperial Marines set before the fall.
Correct.
So I absolutely could.
Because what I want to do with Derelict is, or Soul and Beyond, I should say, screw Derelict, but Soul and Beyond is show things how things got the way they are now. And consider, write the timeline pieces that I want to do something on Earth after whatever happens, that kicks off, and go into how the world changed, and make that part of the canon that leads up to this, so we understand where we are with Mars, Earth, and the colonies, and how all of that fits together, and why are there so few humans left in Sol System. I want to deal with all of that and how the politics and the economy works. Deal with the typical colonial problem, which is you're a colonist, you're not a citizen, kind of deal, not given the same rights, and go into all of that and try and imagine the future that I would like to see, and then find all the problems with it. And
look at what
that would be fun.
Robert Heinlein in Starship Troopers, the book, the people that get the full citizenship are those that serve, the military service people.
Not just military service, anybody who serves the government.
Exactly so. It's not just that. It's been a while since I've read the book, but to get your full vote, you have to serve. You have to give something to society. And that's his take on it was interesting, but I imagine there's a ton of other takes that could be handled that way.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to remember who it is. Michael Z. Williamson, I think it is. Michael? Williamson is the last name anyway. And he has a world that's based on a very much libertarian output. And if you want to become a citizen, one of the rulers of that world, you basically have to give up everything. You have to have earned a whole buttload of money, and then it goes to the government.
You buy a citizenship.
You're buying your way in to being one of the leaders in the society. And when you do so, your divorce from the you had pretty much goes away. Now, why they would do that, I'm still not particularly sure, but it's an interesting, I think it's Michael Z. Williamson, but I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
He writes some crazy stuff.
Yeah, I think that's fun. It's just such a fun place to play, and you can really kind of work out. I'm constantly have arguments with myself about my views. I'm always trying to go back and reevaluate them and figure out why I believe what I believe. And to see the arguments and then kind of put them down on paper and have the arguments on the page and in the story, in using all that to figure some of that stuff out, it seems like a worthwhile exercise. It seems like a very worthwhile exercise. I may actually try that.
I saw something.
I might actually be doing it.
About biases in the news fairly recently in an article talking about it, how that when you've got these firm beliefs in something, we all like to think that if we're presented with evidence that shows that we're wrong, that we'll be rational and go, you know, I was wrong, and we'll change our viewpoint. And that almost never happens. When somebody is given evidence that their thinking is wrong, and to dismiss that evidence and go on with what they believe anyway.
No comment.
On any subject. On any subject.
I know, on any subject. We don't like to be wrong. We don't like to have to admit we made a mistake, which I think and it's really bad. This culture, especially, if you can even say America has a culture, we are really bad about it. We are bad about saying sorry. We're bad about asking forgiveness, and we are horrible about admitting we were wrong. And it is something I think our society really needs to get the fuck over, because I just don't think it's going to get any better until we embrace that. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. There, Paul pulling out his hippie bullshit.
Hey man, why can't we all just get along?
Why are you harshing my mellow, man?
There you go. I double dare you to write a science fiction story with the entire crew like that.
Oh, I could so do it. Oh, I absolutely could do it. I could have them break down. We'd waiting for SNR Black and just be sitting there just smoking, you know, just
it'd be like Cheech and Chong in space.
Exactly. Cheech and Chong in space, or
the one not here, man.
The one episode from Heavy Metal. That would be freaking hilarious. A Soul and Beyond story. Oh my God. What the hell is this?
Meanwhile, what's the name for a joint? What would you call the spaceship? What would it be here? I've forgotten my slang here.
You wouldn't call it. You wouldn't want
to. It's not a joint. It's something else. There's
Blunt.
There we go. The Blunt. That would be the name of the ship. The Blunt. That's what I was looking for.
And the nose cone is just cherry red.
Exactly so. And it has an artificial smoke generator that, yeah. I totally double dare you to write that story.
Just doing nothing but smoking vapor the entire time. It'd be freaking hilarious.
Somebody calms them to say something about that. They turn on the thing and you can hardly see them because of the smoke in the cockpit.
It's just freaking hilarious. Anyway. So you want to see how Mira became a derelict? Well, that's what Terry's hounding me about. Maybe. I want to write the story. I really do.
There was a novelization of Buck Rogers written not so long ago, years ago, that was completely divorced from the actual storyline. And in this one, they went ahead and had the centerpiece being an interstellar ship arriving back and everybody on board dead in their sleep pods, except for one guy that was missing. And that was the lead off to the story. Somebody had slit 200 people's throats while they were asleep and then vanished. And Buck Rogers was the investigator trying to figure out what happened.
That sounds like a really good story.
It actually was. It kind of petered out after a book or two. I think there was two books in it in that particular series, and then it went away. It was an interesting idea. I liked it, but there we go. It didn't pan out.
I may very well rip that off.
Why not? That is the nature of what we as writers do.
Hell yeah. You just change it around. Somebody's been destroying all the embryos on a colony ship.
Dun, dun, dun.
You know, there's all sorts of things you could do with that. Confront reader bias toward assuming that the opinions of a character are the opinions of the writer unless they're actively being proven wrong.
It doesn't matter what you write, you're going to offend somebody.
Isabel, I had made some statements in Garrus Inferno from a character point of view that don't even relate to me at all. I don't believe them at all. But I wanted to put that out there and see what happened. I wanted to put that out there just to see what happened. So far, no one said a damn word. And nobody did say a word. But it is potentially a topic that could have exploded, and it didn't on me. But yes, there are biases, and some you'll get accused of that aren't correct. Others may have, maybe they'll have some idea of, what's going on. Sorry, I got distracted. Tim Taylor did the embryo killing in his Human Legion series.
I know that as far as putting things in books,
he didn't do it my way, though.
That's true. No, nobody does it your way. I had a secondary character that was gay. And I was immediately accused of being part of the gay agenda. I swear somebody actually used that phrase with me. I was in league with the gay agenda, I believe is how it was phrased. I wonder how they're going to feel when I take a major point of view character in the Empire of Bones series and reveal that they're gay. The character's already introduced, but I have not had any reason to introduce their sexuality into this at this point. But it's going to happen, and I'm going to get some flack for it. I just know it.
Of course.
And that's okay. I can deal with it.
I can deal with it too. I'm going to make fools out of everybody. It's going to happen. So, yeah. It'll be there. And when I start trying to explain certain things of the culture in Soul System that I've alluded to but haven't quite dug into, when I start digging in, some people are going to freak out.
I like what Drew Bernardi's saying, the guy that complains and leaves 2 stars after 8 books. There is some guy that's out there that just serially reads and just slams books. It's like series, the book after book after book. Why are you still reading this series? Get out of your mom's basement and go find something interesting to do.
Somebody just wants attention. They just want you to reply. They just want a reply from you, Terry.
There's a reason that I don't actually read reviews, and people like that are one of them.
I've looked at a few of the 1 stars and laughed my ass off. Those are kind of fun. at times.
You should go ahead and have the best of 1 stars.
I said that, and you told me that I couldn't do that because it was the copyright of Amazon.
Well, that's true. That's true. You can't.
So stop telling me, that my ideas are good ideas when they're your ideas.
You're absolutely right. See, I've changed.
Oh no, the biggest twist. It turns out to be Terry's wife messing with him.
So she's the only one that reads the reviews. She can tell me whatever she likes about
the ultimate troll. Holy shit, the ultimate troll.
She could be like, slowly leaving, saying this person somebody left this review, trying to slowly steer me into a corner and thinking.
I saw a meme. Maybe it was posted in our group. I can't remember, but was talking about the fact that here's the series. We love this series. We want more of this series, but we don't want it to be the same. So you put out something different. No, that's terrible. Go back to the original and go back to the original. No, that's terrible. That's not what we want. We want this. And it made me laugh a lot because it's one of those things where I'm constantly running into this with my work. Am I just repeating myself? So the reviewers do own the copyright. Yeah.
Okay, I'll buy that.
So anyway, it just seems like I just need to stop fucking worrying about this shit and just write.
Pretty much the answer to everything is you'd be better off writing.
I'd be better off writing than doing this show right now with all these obnoxious people in chat.
Yes, but then you'd never get out of the house. Think of how you'd look then. You'd be unkempt. You'd be dressed in a shirt that you hadn't changed in 4 days. Your dog would be avoiding you because you smell bad.
I just put this on today.
That's what you tell us.
I haven't bathed in 7 days, but come on.
There's a book you should write.
Is
that like research for your space thing? Tell your wife, I'm not bathing for 7 days because it's research.
Oh my God.
Out you go.
It'd be like, go stand in front of the garden hose. You're not coming to the house until
Can't write the story when you're banished.
When you're banished from your own home. Yes, that. All right. So since you're here, how many of you have voted in the poll on Facebook or the poll on Patreon for the brainstorming ideas? And how do you guys feel about it?
I know that my wife has voted. I don't feel like I should vote because
I've not voted. I was copying and pasting stuff from there, and it looked like I was voting and changing my vote all the way, but really I was just looking for a way to unclick that I voted.
Once you've clicked, there is no unclick.
Actually, there is. You can go back and click your choice again, and your vote goes away.
Oh, that's awesome.
Do it live. The only problem with trying to do it live, and I already mentioned this, trying to coordinate with another person to get them on the show at the same time to do a live show is going to be hellish. And we'll have to see who the author chose, and whoever that is, we'll have to see what we can do. And if they're comfortable with that. If they're not comfortable with that, then we'll just record it.
Yep. Isabel says that she's seen people go crazy from the endless cycle of feedback contradiction.
Yes.
It's one of the reasons that I don't look at the feedback and I pretty much ignore it because I'm going to go nuts. It has to be the story that interests me as a writer.
Yeah.
I can't tell somebody else's story. If you want to tell a different story, then you tell that different story. I have to tell the one that makes me feel like I'm having a good time doing it. And like this last book, I made some choices that some of the readers were not happy with. And I accept that. That's just the price of doing business. I'll learn from that. I'll move on. I'll do it better the next time.
Yep. That's pretty much all you can do. And for me, it's along the lines of shut the hell up and write the book and follow it where it needs to go. I'm going to keep the black interesting by showing how it changes over time. So it'll be doing new things every book.
Drew says, just as a note, as I told J.R. Hanley about his show, I'll change my schedule to be on your show. Commitments be damned.
God.
Man, Somebody sounds desperate.
I know. It's like, I want to be on live. I want to be on live. I already thinks we're somehow going to make magic happen, which we don't.
I hate to tell you, we're not the famous people.
No,
Being on
we're
our
not the
show
famous
is not, it's not all that and a bag of chips. No.
I think it's been really interesting the last well, I get probably 4 or 5 in the week now at the DRS email of these PR firms hawking authors. And it's just kind of like, there must not be many writer shows out there that have any kind of audience. Must not be. Either that or our listener numbers are lying to us big time.
All I can tell you is that if you feel like going on somebody else's show, go because you want to do it and you think it's going to be fun, not because you think it's going to help you, because it's probably not going to help you. You'd still be better off writing.
I do, however, think it's good for authors to get out there and get used to talking about their work, get used to those kinds of things, because I think the process of that is going on a show and being interviewed or participating on a panel at a con. Those are things that you probably need to learn, because the public speaking thing, at some point in time, if you're lucky, you're going to have to do it. And it is becoming more and more one of these things you can do, like coming onto our show or Mythwits or something like that, where you can go on there, or the shows that some of our listeners are creating now. I think there's 2 or 3 of them now. The bottom line is it's a good experience for you to get some idea of how all that works and get comfortable with it. And I'm not going to lie, I get stage fright at every con. I get stage fright every live show. I get stage fright every public appearance. And I just try not to show it, but it's there.
The way that it works, I'm a very introverted guy. And the same with Paul. You have to develop a mask of a persona that you put on when you have to be in these situations. And the persona can respond. And you build up these habits of response so that you're not petrified because you're acting out a part. And after enough time of doing that, that part becomes natural to you.
Yeah, it just becomes,
it's very strange.
It's just a costume you put on. It doesn't mean you can't have fun. I mean, I hadn't been, when we started the show, I was thinking about it. When Terry and I started talking, all that goes away. I just have to do it. But getting through the first 3 or 4 minutes is really tough.
Immersion is key. Once you get past the initial part and you're doing it, you're fine.
Well, we would like you on the show too, Drew, maybe, because we think it would be fun, mainly so we can throw things at you.
The voting proceeds.
When are we going to revamp the DRS page? Do you mean the website, Nathan?
Yeah, the 1980s website.
The 1980s website. My website looks eerily similar. 50 downloads of podcast, about 500 followers in a blog. Cool. That's awesome.
Nathan says, yes, the DRS page.
The DRS website. I don't have time. So I need to find somebody to go do it. And the problem is that there's so much cruft on that thing that just needs to be nuked. And Terry and I need to have a discussion about a few things regarding the, putting up articles or reviews or whatever else up there as well. We need to talk about that. But it would be nice if we were able to bring something like the forum back. It's just that policing it now would be much easier than it was way back then. I would like to get it rebuilt.
I'm not convinced that's so. I think that the Facebook group actually provides pretty much the same functionality that we would get there.
It does, but it's on Facebook.
I'm still not seeing that as a negative. Our opinions on this are different.
Yes, I know. A DRS affiliated page where links to pages can be. Yes, I know. That would require me to go in there and do something with it. Not going to happen anytime soon. Believe me, I thought about putting up our Friends of the Podcast page or something like that. But I just haven't done it. Haven't thought about it. We can rebuild it. We have the technology. Yeah, it wouldn't be all that difficult to get better than it is right now. It just is what it is.
Maybe you just need to take what's there now and move it to an archive page that stays exactly the way it is. And at some point, we just build the whole brand new one, and we just say, we're not even going to pretend that the past exists. Go here if you want to see the past.
Yeah, it might help. It might help. Isabel has social anxiety disorder. Self with their mornings last few years. Yes. That meds. Yes, meds help. Ask for volunteers.
There's a problem with asking for volunteers. I asked for volunteers to help create a wiki in the past so I could keep track of things for the book. And I got a couple of people that said, I'd be happy to do that. Chirp, 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 chirp. When the time actually came, you want to find somebody you can pay to do that, because then there's actually an obligation to actually
there's an obligation. There's an obligation. That's why I like paying people too, because it's like, yeah, I'll get it for free.
It's fair. It's fair. You should pay people for their work.
Yeah, I agree. I should pay myself for my own work at some point in time.
Talk to your tax accountant.
Yeah. Talk to my tax accountant. So yeah, DRS needs to be rebuilt. Shadowpublications.com needs to rebuild.
TerryMixon.com needs to be rebuilt.
TerryMixon.com needs to rebuild. I was thinking about this today, Terry, about our logo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's probably a conversation we should have offline.
Probably so. I agree that the conversation needs to take place.
Yeah, I think we need to talk about all of that stuff at some point. We have, I mean, since we're trying to build a new identity, we've kind of moved the show in a different direction than it was to a certain degree. And it may be time to make a break from certain things. I don't know. We have to talk. We have to talk on that. I'm to the point where I'm just thinking about the future, and I know I want to keep doing the show. So I look forward to my conversations with Mr. Mixon every week. Gives me an excuse to interact with a human being, or an obligation to.
We have to actually drag you out of your cave to make it happen.
Yeah, pretty much. T-shirts. DRS merch. Yeah, we'll talk about that too. I know. You people are crazy to find ways to support us. I really appreciate it. T-shirts with Terry and Paul merch. Not many of those will even be printable.
How many F-bombs can you fit on a T-shirt?
Listen to the Dead Robot Society. What could go wrong? Yeah. Terry Mixon and Paul E. Cooley met one day, and something happened, and then things horribly went wrong. God, I cannot put words together. You'd buy it.
Have a foot with a toe tag hanging off of it saying, "This is why you should read Paul Cooley."
Oh, that's an awesome idea. Maybe I'll get Thomas Reed a shirt that's just a big toe tag. Maybe I'll do that for him, or to him. And Scott Pond decide it for me. He'd be freaking hilarious. Oh, that's kind of terrifying. Shut up and take my money. I love it when I see those, especially the Fry meme with them holding all the dollars. That's awesome. All right, we've been on here an hour and 30 minutes, folks. It's time to wrap this up.
Yes, it is.
So we will be back in 2 weeks. Same bat time, same bat channel in 2 weeks.
So be thinking of things that you want us to talk about in 2 weeks so that you can make us talk about them, because we are really the puppets that dance on your strings during these shows.
Dance, monkey, dance. Of course, you also know that we are the masters of the segue.
Segue, is that what we call squirrels?
The loose threads, the plot bunnies. Yeah, we're the tangents from hell. Yeah, we're also those guys. So we're good at it. So yes, keep those in mind. Thank you for voting. What question? Which question, JR?
He's 5 seconds behind us. Give him a second.
I know. Five seconds.
You've seen it by now, JR. You should be answering us.
Shirts just made entirely up of keyword swears. how much support for the stripper pole. Wow. 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 I don't have a figure for you right now. Let me talk to my wife and see what she thinks is working.
Shake that money maker.
What's my number? I don't have a price set in mind for that. I will have to get back to you on that. I will float it past my personal financial advisor and see what she thinks is fair.
No, I might be able to contribute to that particular fund right there, because just seeing you put on the hot spot would be fun.
Oh my! Of course.
I'll have to, have a video of it where it blocks out the unfortunate parts.
How much for Jelly Gator NATO?
I still think it's going to happen.
I was going to write Black NATO.
Yeah, what could go wrong with that title?
I know it sounds like a 70s exploitation film. It's so bad. It is so bad. That's just originally came out the Black NATO, and then I started hearing the funk music, and suddenly the characters grew froze, and I was like, oh, this is not going to a good place. Not
what is
at
that
all.
Character that's just talking about, and I can never remember the character's name. What is it here? Help me out. It's not Shaft. Just talking about Shaft.
Just talking about Shaft. It's just so bad, because I also keep thinking about Undercover Brother. Have you seen that one?
I have.
Oh, mayonnaise. It's so goddamn funny.
There are reasons why people like us would never dare go there.
Yeah, it doesn't mean we can't find it funny though.
We're bad people, man.
It's funny and horrific at the same time. Jelly Gator NATO versus Black NATO. Come on. Okay. On that note, we're ending this show.
You mess with the fro, you got to go. That's what Drew said.
Yes. Nathan, don't you dare lie to the people on Facebook like that. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. All right, Terry, it was good to see you. I guess I'll see you in a couple days, huh?
You will. Tuesday. We'll do it again.
Tuesday we'll do it again.
Folks, thanks for coming on here, spending some of your precious weekend time with us. We appreciate the interaction because, well, we're introverts. That's how we roll.
Yeah, something like that. Or something. Anyway, thank you, folks. And be sure and leave comments. And, of course, this is the end of the live stream. But if you missed part of it, you can always go back and rewatch it. It should be available in probably 45 minutes or so when YouTube finishes processing it. And I'll put the link up. Anyway, good to see y'all. Thank you for coming and entertaining us. And
hey, this is a private show. We don't do Patreon names during private shows.
You are the Patreon. You are the patrons.
Come on.
What the hell? Oh, wait. Okay, fine.
He wants you to read his quote.
No, yeah. You know what? We'll do it.
Wait. If you're going to do it, I demand that you go ahead and take what he's written and change it in a way that's humiliating. Because it's a private show. I demand it.
Terry's demanding it. Good Lord. Okay. Here we go. And we would be remiss if we didn't mention our $10 patrons, who this week at this moment are, who we're going to hear their names again later. Anma Natsu. Anma Natsu. There we go. Welcome, Anma. Thank you for your support. Tracy Bodine. Thank you. John Kilgallen, Robert Slade, Devin Lee. Caleb has 2 blue eyes and 1 brown James.
I was totally thinking there was something else going to be brown there, and that was going to be a different show.
That it didn't go quite as bad as I thought it was going to be. Nathan, antimatter, petty.
Oh, really? Come on. Come on.
Yeah. Drew, Chase Terry with a weed eater Bernardi. That could happen. Chris Winder, Isabel, Shooby-Doo-Wop, Cushy, Andre Conde Moraes, DJ Chamberlain, Jonathan Zarusin, and JR. I so want to be a toe tag Hanley. There we go.
You know, maybe you should put that on your Patreon. People that commit a certain amount on your Patreon get to be toe tagged.
I don't know how many more times I can have people found dead. Oh boy. All right, folks. Thank you. We'll see you.
Thank you so much.
2 weeks.
See you next time.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Look forward to it. Bye.